Well, here we are, sat at one of the great cricket grounds in the world, the Adelaide Oval. It's a coolish Adelaide day, the old scoreboard behind us. Joe, do you agree this is one of the special cricket grounds in the world?
Definitely. I think it's a fantastic venue and a great opportunity for us to come out here and show our best stuff, really. We've not been able to do that as yet, but we know it's not far away, and this is a perfect stage for us to go and hopefully go and deliver that.
We'll come on to the Test series in a while, but let's look back. Adelaide, the city, has a lot of fond memories for you and huge part of your development as a cricketer. You came here as a young 19-year-old. Tell us about those times.
It's hard to remember, it's that long ago now. But yeah, about 15 years ago, came here on the Darren Lehman Academy with a few of the other, few of my peers, likes of Scott Borthwick, Liam Norwell, James Taylor from Gloucester, and yeah, we just got to grow up, really, live in a different country, have to think for yourself a little bit more, and in terms of cricket, just to get exposed to different things, different conditions, different situations, be able to almost live a professional lifestyle. You're training every day of the week, playing on the weekends. You've got added responsibility of being an overseas pro and the expectation of trying to deliver on that every weekend. So
how did the cricket go?
No, I was rubbish. I was rubbish. But in terms of my development as a player, it was really beneficial. I remember coming back and feeling ready for the county season, and actually had a good season off the back of it, sort of a breakthrough year for me. So even though the results didn't come out on the field here, when I got back, the work that I'd done and the development I made to my own game was substantial, and was a real platform for me to go on and do good things for Yorkshire.
Development as a cricketer and as a person as well, to take you out of that comfort zone, to have to do things for yourself, to get you away from home. Do you agree?
Yeah, and a number of guys go and do it, and I think we'll all agree that they benefit a huge amount from it, not just from a cricketing point of view, but just you have to think for yourself a little bit more. You've got different responsibilities and different things you have to take care of. So certainly felt like it was a big development in all areas for me.
And the coach at the one of the coaches at Darren Lehman Academy, Sean Seeger, picked you up at the airport. He said he'd made that journey many a time, and he asked you the question, what do you want? What do you want to be? And you said, I want to be an England cricketer. And he noted that you would work hard as you possibly could to get that end goal.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's no hiding. Like, I've never been the most athletic or the most dynamic player, so there are other areas that I had to work hard at and make sure that I was almost ahead in those areas. I mean, I was always very small for as a kid growing up, so my path and my route was slightly different. I had to think about the game slightly differently. I had to find different ways of scoring and manipulating the ball, and I learned to be patient because if I wanted to score runs, I'd have to do it for a long time. So I guess my journey was quite different to a number of my peers, but in some ways that was quite beneficial. And then when I did grow and get a bit stronger, and all things that I sort of came to me throughout my time here, it meant that I caught up in those areas, but I also had the benefit of having to think about the game slightly differently and had different, strengths that others might not have at that stage of their career.
Prospect Cricket Club with Nathan Lyon. I read on debut, have I got this right, Travis Head, caught root, bowl Lyon, batting at number 7, got a 50. Can you remember that dismissal?
I can't remember that at all, no.
You didn't put yourself in at slip or something to Nathan Lyon, did you, surely?
Well, I'd have definitely tried. I'd probably been at short cover or somewhere like that.
What was he like, Nathan Lyon, to play with?
He was really good, actually. He'd come over from Canberra to ACT, and he was working on the ground here, so he wasn't even part of the South Australia side. But he was keen. He was desperate to develop as a player, and he'd made the move over here to, I think, really push his cricket, but also got a great opportunity to work here. And I think he was just knocking around doing the wickets at the spare ground here, Park 25, and they were short of a net bowler, so he came and bowled, and they thought actually he's pretty good, so they drafted him to the squad, and by the end of the year he was the leading wicket taker in the Big Bash. So
Did he get filthy back then when he got left out of the side, to use his terminology?
Well, no, he sort of left left us for dead when he made it into the big time. But no, he was really good with me actually. Throughout his time at the club, he made me feel very welcome. He looked after me in many ways, took me out on trips and got me to see the city. And actually throughout that time became pretty good mates. So it's always nice to catch up with him and see what he's achieved in the game. Has been pretty special, really. So really pleased that to see where he's gone from and his journey to now is pretty surreal, really, that we were both in that side. And I think they'll be pretty disappointed that they didn't get any of the results out of us that we've probably given to England and Australia.
Yeah, they may not have with you, but everyone you speak to about your time at Prospect talks about how you bought into the club. I think there was some Monday night club or something that you used to run, that you used to organise various activities, but also the way you took the family that took care of you. I think it was Tiffany Fisher, the mum.
Yeah.
You left her a nice little note, didn't you, saying thank you. I don't know how I'll ever repay you for looking after me. Pretty special times.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, you come over to play club cricket and a family has to give up their spare room almost and have to look after you, and it's another mouth to feed and someone else to almost look after and worry about. And they were very good at doing that. I made good friends with Jason, their son, who was similar sort of age to me, which was obviously great. And got on really well with the rest of the family as well, who were all lovely throughout my time here. So I felt very, very lucky that I'd sort of landed on my feet. I'd had a really nice family that looked after me, a place to stay. It was just up the road, very convenient. But I'll be forever grateful for all that they did and all the club did, really, as well. It wasn't the strongest team in that league, but everyone turned up every week with a smile on their face, gave everything they got, and we had a great time. So the fact that you can, you're excited to turn up to training and you enjoy each other's company, it makes it so much more enjoyable when you're away from home, you're out of your comfort zone. A lot of very fond memories of this place, and hopefully I get to catch up with a few of those guys over the course of this week. It might be difficult with the schedule as it is and family here and stuff, but it'd be nice to bump into a few of them and say hi.
And as ever, I think you've set up an academy here at the Adelaide Uni. Why have you done that? Well, you've always trying to give back and not just I'm all right, Jack attitude.
Well, I want to share the experiences that I got to have, really, and kind of we stole Sean Seager. He's involved with us now and does some brilliant work. All the stuff that I managed to go through, he can give that opportunity to the next generation, if you like. And I think as a player, that's one of your responsibilities, really, is you want to leave the game in a better place in whatever way, shape or form that is, whether that's in the dressing room and you're trying to give your insight, your advice, your help to the guys around you and try and create a really good space for people to come in and flourish, or whether it's a little bit lower than that, you want guys to feel that there is a way to, if you want to, you want to make sure that first and foremost it's an enjoyable thing that for everyone to do. Not everyone's going to get the privilege of going on and playing professional sport, but you want them to enjoy and experience some things that they'll remember for the rest of their life, and that's one of the special things about sport. So the more opportunities you can create for people to have that, I think is really special, and if it's a small thing that you can do, then absolutely you should go out of the way and do it.
Okay, let's move on to the series ahead, otherwise this sounds like an episode of This Is Your Life and we're looking back at everything you've ever done. But you've had a few days in Noosa. Was that just about getting yourselves right mentally? I mean, physically you've had 6 days of test match cricket, you recover from that, but mentally just to sharpen up a little bit?
I think so. I mean, from my perspective, my family flew out the last day of the game, so 7 weeks away from your wife and your kids is quite a long time. So to get that chance to get away and be with family, but like in a home series, you just want to be able to take your mind away from the game sometimes, take a breath, come back, feel refreshed mentally and recharged so that you can give everything again for the next game. And I think that's one thing that we wanted to get out of last week, really, was we knew what the schedule was going to be like coming into this series. The last three were always going to be full on, and you can almost pick yourself up, dust straight off, get back into it. But almost the tricky bit about those week layovers is the thinking time and making sure that you're preparing in the right way mentally. It's the most important part of Test cricket. Everyone that plays at this level has got serious amount of skill and ability, and everyone within that team has the the qualities to go and win test matches and do individual things of brilliance which can turn a game. I think that's never going to be in question. The thing is making sure that you're mentally in the right space to go and deliver on that. And I think having a bit of time away from cricket grounds and being in inner cities where it's very hustle and bustle is, I think, can be a really beneficial thing if it's done in the right way. And I understand when you lose a couple of games there can be a slight misconception about what it might look like, but ultimately you've got to prepare in a way which you know is going to benefit you and the team and give yourself the best chance of winning out here. And we've got to win 3 games. I think the whole complexion of the series changes if we win this week, and the way the outlook on it will look very different. I know it was in England in our own conditions, but you saw the last time the way that we played from Headingley onwards, it was like a completely different team. And it's easy to forget that, and the fact that we might be in different conditions, but the game doesn't change. If anything, it becomes more simplified out here. It doesn't swing as much. The pitches don't deteriorate quite as differently or as much as they might in England. So in many ways it's simplified, and it's just remembering that, understanding that, and all we need to do is play be better for longer. I think when we've got it right throughout this series, we've looked very dangerous, and we've played some really good stuff, but we've got to put it together for a long period of time. And
going back to the time in Noosa, no one needs reminding more than you about how important it is to get away from a bubble. I mean, you were captain last time out here in the COVID series and the COVID bubble, and you must have seen how difficult that was for cricketers who could not escape mentally away from staying at grounds and staying in a bubble. It is so important to get away from the game, have something else in your life as well.
Absolutely is. And I think the hardest bit about that was it wasn't the first COVID bubble that we were in, it was the last. We'd done 20 odd test matches by that point, which is probably 15 more than the next country. So the guys were wiped out. We're turning up to games and there's 4 of our coaches they're in isolation for 2 weeks because they've got COVID. We've got players running the build up to a test match. It was a bit of a shambles really, and sort of not what you'd need if you're looking at peak performance and high quality international cricket. It shouldn't be like that. But that was the state of the times then. We did what we needed to do to try and get the best out of ourselves throughout that. But you could see the wear and tear that it took on players and coaches. And I think it's really important that there is some perspective that's kept. You're not always going to get it right as players, and I know these guys are desperate to do that. We all are. We're desperate to win every game that we play, very passionate about playing for England and representing our country and delivering our best as often as we possibly can. But it's not through lack of effort, and it's not through lack of hard work. It's sometimes just get it wrong. We make mistakes, and look, this isn't a stop story. I'm not sat here with a little violin asking for people to feel sorry for us. We know how lucky we are and how good we've got it, and but you're right, you need to be able to switch off. You need to be able to get away from the game so that you are mentally in the right frame of mind to compete and to be right at the top of your game as much as possible.
Talking of mental toughness, the captain, who you know well, very close friend of yours, Ben Stokes, after the test said Australia is no place for weak men, and the dressing room, an England dressing room, my England dressing room, is no place for weak men. Was that just an off-the-cuff comment, or do you think he was trying to send a message to the team? We need to be tougher, because for everything you've said, key moments when the pressure has been on, or even lifted in Perth when you're ahead of the game, you've not been ruthless enough. Was that a message to the team from the captain?
I think it can be very difficult, having been there a lot, especially after a loss. You can be very emotional, and Ben had put everything into that week. You look at how much he bowled, the mental fortitude and skill that he exerted batting, and the way through everything into the game. I'm sure there was still a level of emotion still in what he said. I agree that this is a place where you've got to be very hardened. You want to be successful here. you have to be resilient and you have to be able to withstand pressure for long periods of time. But I think this group is definitely capable of doing that. And whether that was aimed at players individually, I'm not so sure. I do think though that it's a fair statement. If you're going to win here, you've got to handle those big moments. But there's no question that the guys are definitely good enough to do that.
England fans would maybe pick you up on that and say, yeah, we have shown in the past we can handle big moments, but in this series, when the pressure's on, key moments, we're faded. Is that something you talk about as a team, or is that an individual thing to be tough when it really matters?
I think it's both, really. I think, well, obviously when you're out there in the field, then you're all in it together. You all have to pull each other through those moments. When it gets tough, people have to stand up individually, but collectively you've all got to show up. And I think it's important that we continue to look to do that. I also think it can be a very lonely place, cricket, sometimes, and you can feel like you're on your own. And I think it's really important that you remember you're always playing in partnerships, whether that's with the ball in hand or you're out there with the bat. You've got to use each other's complementary skills and feed off each other. And I think that's got to be a big focus for us moving forward. We've got so many different methods and players within our team that complement each other brilliantly. And it's easy to lose sight of that, especially under pressure. So making sure that collectively we're working well together and we're using each other's strengths. You look at Zach and Ben's record at the top of the order. I think they average nearly 50 as a pair. And I think a big part of that is because of how different they play the game and how difficult it is for bowlers to consistently deliver their best ball. You've got someone that cuts it off the top of the stumps and someone that gets 4 metres down and drives it at the top of its bounce. So I think understanding each other and using that to our advantage is a really important part of how we can tackle these conditions, this situation. And remembering as well, we're not playing the series. We're not playing Pat Cummins or Mitchell Starc. We're playing the ball that's coming down and we're playing that moment, and staying very present in that is a really important part of, I think, how we're going to be successful here.
One of the lads that sort of epitomises this side is Harry Brook. Good and not so good. I remember you 4 or 5 years ago. I was going from the Oval to Headingley for a blast game, and I told you this, and you pointed and wagged your finger at me and said, Hussain, you need to be talking about Harry Brook just a little bit more. And that was before he put on an England shirt. Is he now playing exactly how you thought? Average 55, test match vice captain, captain of the white ball side. Is he pretty much what you saw a while ago?
Yeah, and more probably. I always knew that he was a very talented player and that he was able to go on and do very special things for England. But to be as consistent as he's been with that, to go on and average over 55 in 30 test matches, you're clearly a very good player and you've clearly got a very good mind. You've got some resilience, you've got strength of character and high levels of skill. And we've certainly not seen the best of him in this series yet. And I think there's a lot more to come from him. And people will be disappointed with some of the dismissals that he may have had throughout this series, but Harry Brook is a generational player and he is going to deliver at some point on this series. You watch out, he's a match winner, and if he gets his himself in and set, and at some point in this series he's going to go and do something very special for us. If
he did come up to you though and said, Joe, a bit of advice please, I'm playing okay, the dismissal against Mitchell Starc in twilight, you're at the other end, he nearly ran you out, he was a bit dopey in that little period, I know better than anyone about running between the wickets, you gave him a couple of looks in his eyes saying, Harry, switch on here, there was a single there. But the dismissal there, the dismissal second innings perf, key moments, should I play differently, Joe? If he was asking for your advice on how to play, would you say, don't change a thing?
I'd say trust your instincts in the moment. He's got a great cricket brain. Clearly, it's a bit like Peterson. He does things that other players can't do. So you try and tell him to do something that doesn't come naturally to him, I don't think you're going to get the best out of him. I think you have to trust that he's going to make the right decision at any given moment. When you've got the game that he has, the ability he has, and the skill level that he has, you have to put trust and faith that they're going to make those right calls. And that's the reason why he averages 55 and why he's done so many special things in his short career till now, is because of his mind and the way that he reads the game. And like everyone else, we've all made mistakes. You look at my 2 dismissals in that first test match, or the 3 out of the 3 dismissals I've had in this series. They've not been I mean, one might have been a reasonably good ball, but the other two weren't great shots. You know, and I've played 160 games. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you just got to hope you miss them. You know, you play a miss or you get a little bit of fortune, and you try and limit those to as few as possible. But the majority of the time, he makes very good decisions. In high pressure moments, he puts pressure back on bowlers, and I think reads the game exceptionally. He also takes a lot of pressure off the guy at the other end. You know, he can create carnage at times for the opposition and speed the game up, but can also play a game which is very much within that and still very destructive in a slightly different way. He can kill teams with a whisper too. So, like I said, if he gets himself in and set, and he might go on and do something very special in the next couple of games.
And the 100 in Brisbane, people have described it as a monkey off your back. Was it something that you have been thinking about? I mean, it's very difficult to get away from it when you arrive and they're calling you Average Joe and the stats and every newspaper. Was it something in your back of your mind, or you really weren't fazed about it? Because it was a pretty ice cold celebration. I thought it sort of went, what's all the fuss about? You can tell us more.
No, I think, look, you can't say, I wasn't aware of anything. Of course I was. It's hard to escape it. It's sort of everywhere. There's a lot of people talking about it, but it's not. It should never really be about individual milestones. If you start thinking about that, I think you're playing for the wrong reasons. Of course, it's nice when you go on and do individual things within the game, but it's not what you play for. You play to win. And I think at the time, what felt so good was being able to get into a position what we felt was a strong position within that game at that moment, having that partnership with Jofra at the end as well. You know, and of course it's a nice thing to be able to, you know, even playing for Prospect, I never got 100, so to finally get 100 in Australia is of course it's a bit of relief in there and a nice thing to have achieved. But your job within this team as a senior batter is to score heavily, and you know that if you're doing that, then you've got a far better chance of winning. So that's always been my main focus. That will never change.
Were you any more nervous in the 90s? I mean, I've watched you get 39 Test match hundreds before that, and I never once got nervous for you, but I was nervous watching because of the hype and the moment and the crowd and the whole, even Australian fans. I walked down the alleyway in Brisbane and an Aussie said to me, come on Joe, which is remarkable. So did it make you any more nervous, or was it just another normal 90s?
Well, no, I mean, like you said, I've got a few hundreds already, so I couldn't be more prepared and more ready for it. So in many ways, I wouldn't say I was more nervous. I was trying to stay very present within the moment and within the game, and clear about what we needed to do to get to what felt was a competitive and good score on that surface in those conditions. So, like I say, that was in many ways a nice distraction, and a way that I try and look at the game is clearly when you get to 100, batting does for some reason seem a little bit easier, but ultimately your job is to keep trying to take that scoreboard as far away from the opposition as possible, or close in on that target that they set you. And
did you put any shot away in that 100? I mean, some people have said you've got to be less sort of flirty outside that off stump with that lovely rundown shot that you do in England. Or was it just the same Joe Root that converted a 70 and 80 into 100?
I looked very straight throughout the whole innings, tried to play as straight as I could. I think in the first Test match I got too obsessed with the bounce and trying to play square of the wicket, and I think that was to my demise in both innings really. I think going back to Brisbane, I knew that the challenges that it might pose, and I tried to take modes of dismissal out of the game where I could and look to just play as straight as possible and understand that sometimes less is more in those conditions. Felt like a slow outfield and a soft ball, so I was going to have to work hard and run pretty well. I'm not one of the stronger guys in our team, so but with that in mind, just read what was right in front of me, play what was coming down at me. As always, you need a little bit of luck, but you're trying to take out as much risk as possible with the highest amount of output, and just try and replicate that time and time again for the course of your innings.
Let's throw it ahead to this week. 2-0 down, obviously. Australia attack will probably get even tougher with Cummins and Lyon coming in, but how important is it you stay true to your instincts? Because of all Australia grounds, now there's a bit of grass on it at the moment, but we're a few days out, this could be a pitch, a ground that suits your style, not you, but the team's style of play. How important is you don't move away and panic and go away from what you've done for 3 or 4 years now and stick to that method that you've had and believe that here you can turn it around?
I think a lot of the talk that comes about this team is an external narrative. I think what the most important thing is we've got to bring out the best versions of ourselves and partner up well out there in moments in the game. You know that big partnerships drive the game, whether that's with ball. It's understanding it. If you're not feeling in great rhythm with the ball, is being able to play second fiddle to the guy at the other end. Similarly as with the bat, if someone's hard work, be able to get off strike and trust the guy at the other end and work well together. And I know that if we do ours, we come out with our best stuff and improve on what we've learned from some of the experiences throughout this tour, but ultimately look at what our best game looks like and deliver on that, then I think we'll have a great opportunity to win here. And I think the whole complexion of the series changes if that happens.
One final question. Great players like you are constantly looking to improve, constantly looking forward. If I take you back to that 19-year-old boy arriving wide-eyed, nervous in Australia for a bit of grade cricket and the Darren Lehman Academy, are you proud of what you've achieved? I mean, 40 Test match hundreds, England captain, World Cup wins, 13,700 runs, and the way you've carried yourself as an individual. I know you like to look forward, but do you look back and go, you know what, I did all right there, Joe?
I've not really thought about it too much. I'd say that kid that got off the plane here would be extremely proud of every bit of that. But yeah, I always think, if I'm having a slow day or feel a little bit sluggish, just remember what it felt like to be 12 years old, pull the curtains back and pray it's not raining so I could go out and play that night after school, whether it be in the garden, on the road, at the club, just sort of create our own little test match. So I always try and take myself back to what it felt like then, and try and remember how lucky I am to get every opportunity that I get to represent England, to travel the world, to immerse yourself in a number of different cultures and great countries around and do what we do. And we do get extremely looked after. We're very fortunate to get the opportunities we get, and just keep looking at every chance as an opportunity. It's not a burden. You might be 2-0 down in Ashes series, but if anything, that creates even bigger opportunity. We've got a chance to do something that no other England side's done, is come back from 2-0 down here in Australia. So imagine if we get that right. Imagine what that will feel like. And I think it's really important to remember that. Yes, I will, I'm sure, at some stage when a little bit older and I might have lost my hair like you, I can sit back and think of all of the great times that I had. But I think for now, it's trying to stay present, stay right where I am now, and concentrate on what we need to do to deliver here and try and create some history. And my part in that is obviously to go out there and try and perform and to score as many runs as I can.